Hi and welcome to The Light Leaders, a podcast for light workers who want more money, power and impact. I'm your host, Alex E. Lember. I believe that we are currently in the middle of a global awakening of humanity and that leveraging entrepreneurship is the fastest way to raise the consciousness of our planet. So in this podcast, I interview light workers and conscious entrepreneurs who follow their soul mission and have built a business around it. I call them light leaders, and this is the new paradigm. You will hear their stories and, more importantly, receive tools, tips, and strategies on how you can also impact more people and grow your business while following your soul mission. If you hear little nuggets you love and you'd like to share, screenshot this episode and share on your Instagram stories. Make sure to tag us at the Light Leaders Podcast and we will repost. Hi and welcome to this new episode of the Light Leaders. Today I'm with Alex Cousins. So Alex's background is in international luxury spa and health center development. Having studied alternative health and nutrition for 22 years, with masters around the world, Alex has created her own method birthed out of her own personal crisis. And she has helped many others, so-called hopeless cases. Her genius is to bring others to full embodiment and to heal lives, not just bodies. Alex, thank you for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
So I'd love to know, what did you have for breakfast?
Well, today I had juice because we're fasting. So we've just began a 40-day fast. And so, we're so blessed here in Bali. We have all these amazing juices to choose from. So sugarcane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sugarcane juice. That's all you've had all day? Or?
Sugarcane, well, and then it was orange and then it was different juices. Yeah.
Nice. Well, so let's dive into your vision for the world, your why, because I like to give the listeners a little bit of context to start with about what's your why and also how is your business helping to bring that vision, that why, into manifestation.
Right. Well, my why really comes from my own health crisis journey and having had a lifetime of health issues, small and then bigger, off and on, and feeling like I was never just thriving in my body and how much that impacted everything else in my life. And then once I found the answer and I saw how easy it actually was, there was a lot of anger because we are withheld the truth. I mean, in so many areas we know, but in health, even in alternative health, which I had studied, for so many years, and then seeing how easy it actually is. So my why is to bring people to a place where they can enjoy their body, because ultimately I realized, we can have everything. And I was very blessed to always have everything, but I didn't have my health. I didn't have my mental, emotional, physical health. And I realized without that, we have nothing. So my whole mission really is to share with people how to achieve optimal health and hopefully with that longevity, because we want to enjoy life as long as possible in a thriving body, and to really show that it's really easy.
That's a beautiful mission.
Yeah.
So we'll go more in details, but how do you do that if you were to describe relatively shortly?
Yeah, so succinctly, it's really about, first of all, understanding that health is about elimination, whereas most health principles and philosophies are about adding. And you have to take these herbs and you have to do these things. And, so whether we're talking medicine or alternative medicine, it's all about adding. And it's not about the addition. Addition can come later through tweaking, but it's really about eliminating the built-up toxicity in the body through our modern lifestyle. And I feel, my method is very much, it's non-dogmatic. It's just realizing we live in a toxic world. We live in an overabundant world. And so we all are overeating, over-consuming, overstimulated. and that we have to, just as we have to meditate nowadays, because otherwise we can't be in our bodies in this reality, we also have to go through cleansing processes. And that when we get to a point where the body is really diseased, whether it's constipation, which seems so minor, or something major like chronic fatigue, or Hashimoto's autoimmune diseases, it's because the body is over toxified. And of course, not just the body, but the emotional body as well. And so we have to undo what has been done. And that's really the first step. And
so
then
you do
we
those
can start
the detox programs.
Yes, it's detox programs. And yet I would say detox is just also a minor part of it, because ultimately it's about shifting our consciousness into really understanding that we have to become our own physicians.
And are your programs online only?
Yes, they are for now mainly online. We were going to open a center here in Bali, but due to the situation, we don't know when it's going to happen. But yeah, so far we've done online and in retreats around the world.
Okay, nice. Do you have a team?
Yeah, we've got a team. We've got a doctor on the team. We've got a fasting specialist on the team. So we've got a beautiful team together. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I'd love to talk a little bit about your heroine's journey.
Yes.
Through how you got into this as a calling.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a bit about your story and how you got into? You talked about in the introduction. You told me about your own personal crisis. So if you want to share about this and how it led you to what you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, essentially, like I said, I felt like I was always unwell from a very young age, and only looking back did I really realize that that's what it was. Because initially it was more like, oh, why do I have less energy than everybody else? I was always tired, I was always bloated, I always gained weight. So there was all these initially harmless or seemingly harmless issues, and then eventually they became more chronic, and suffered from a lot of mental health issues, which I later recognized, it was all completely nutrition based. And that I wasn't bipolar, I wasn't schizophrenic, but it was literally just the eating the wrong foods, and these wrong foods having built up in the body, creating toxicity, creating to some degree brain injury, really. And then later on, 7 years ago, my health completely crashed and I found myself bedridden. And I thought I was doing the right things because I had studied Ayurveda in India with some, really amazing masters that were not known in the West. So they were really kind of teaching the pure Ayurveda, which is very different from what's taught in the West. But when my health crashed, I had to kind of realize, wait a moment, there's still a deeper level that I haven't touched. And so that's when I discovered fasting, cellular detox, but also radically shifting my consciousness around my body and what it meant to live in a body. And that being in a body, which I was always trying to escape, that was the whole reason why we're here, right? We're here as spirit in a body because we are here to experience this three-dimensional world, not to shoot ourselves off to God, which is generally what, especially in the spiritual community, we tend to do so much. And it's bringing both parts together, like being fully human, but also being fully connected. Yeah.
Acknowledging also your lower chakras.
Acknowledging it all, being here with all of our chakras, acknowledging the lower chakras, the upper chakras, but acknowledging that everything is really about an inner seed maturation. So just as when we plant a flower, we don't go to the flower and say, oh, well, you're little, I'm not going to look at you now, you're ugly. I'm going to only honor you once you're fully blossomed, right? We honor nature in all its moments. And with our humanity, we tend to have so much judgment of our journey and also no real understanding of what does it mean to mature as humans, and that our spiritual maturation is a given when we live rightfully. But most of us live in the lower chakras.
And to go on more on your entrepreneurial journey, so what led from, okay, this is a really important mission I have, to I'm going to do my business out of it? And did you have kind of I don't like the term normal job, but like a 9 to 5? How was that transition?
Absolutely, yes. Well, for many years, I was in the wellness industry and I came from the hospitality industry. And so I was doing a lot of consulting and creating health spas around the world. But ultimately, that sort of caught me in disillusionment once I realized what we're selling here is really just fluff. So it looks amazing. You know, I worked at a lot of, in fact, all of them were 5 or 6 star spas and hotels and created things for them. But once I realized what I'm doing here is I'm not asked to heal people or to teach techniques that actually heal. I'm asked to tickle people, to please people. And that's not my intention. So once I had that realization, I had a little stint in fashion and I was doing, which was kind of a pocket dream of mine. And I did amazingly well. And ultimately, once my health crashed, you know, Spirit said to me, like, what are you doing? Making handbags. And I'm ashamed to say, to some degree, I was making crocodile handbags at the time, $25,000 bag for what? You know, purposeless completely. We don't need that. And it was a great lesson. And, you know, my ego needed to go there. I got the satisfaction and I got the lessons. And then it was just like, well, now's the time to go out with something that's real. And so I created a business that is rooted in complete truth and realism. Yeah.
And so how was the path to creating that business? Do you want to share for a listener, let's say, who would be, it could be detox, nutrition, it could be breath work or meditation, who wants to make a living out of it?
Yeah.
How do you make a living out of reducing what people take? Because it's I guess there's a challenge to say, hey, all you need is removing things and then having people like how to monetize that, you know.
For sure. Well, so once I stepped away from my, you know, sort of corporate jobs, my vow was everything, the way that we do business in the quote normal world wasn't working for me at all. And it brought me to a state of disease. So I knew that there had to be a better way. And in many ways, I'm deeply grateful that I had the time and space to completely dive in. And so for 3 years, I did absolutely nothing but look after myself. And I spent a lot of time just in silence. And my goal was to be completely led by Spirit. I wanted to, it was like an experiment. I was like, okay, great. Everybody talks about this. All the books talk about this. The gurus talk about this. Let's put it to the test. What happens if I completely empty myself and I just allow divine nature, my divine higher consciousness to run through me and to inform me? Because for me, it was like, okay, I know nothing. Because look at where it's led me. You know, I mean, we were leading a very luxurious lifestyle, but we weren't happy, we weren't healthy. So I was like, okay, I know nothing. I'm willing to be informed by Spirit. And it was the most magical journey because literally every little piece of my business was handed to me by Spirit. So I can't really take credit for it. And from the name to the way that it was going to work, and it was given to me via breadcrumbs. So it's not like the whole loaf presented itself and it was like, here's your plan. You know, in fact, whenever I would say, yeah, but these are breadcrumbs, where's the whole plan? Spirit would say, you don't need to know now. Just do this. Marinate this in your consciousness. What does this feel like, look like? And I just trusted the process. Again, thank goodness in many ways because I had the luxury to do that. So, of course, when you're pressurized, and yet what I learned from it, and this is what I teach my clients as well, is that when you are rooted deeply in your truth and you live the intention of only working through what higher consciousness is giving you, the universe will always support you in miraculous ways. And that has been my experience. And I really do feel like I went and said, okay, fine, I want to serve God, Goddess, all that is, because I've realized that other world didn't satisfy me. I'm ready. Take away everything that is standing between me and me serving in a divine way. And then let's put it to the test. Like, okay, I want to know, does it work? And it does. And I still am completely, at every next step that I take, I'm just in awe at the unfolding and the magic and miracles, and how I don't have to do anything. I just have to show up, and I have to be true to my practice. That's all.
That's interesting. That's, let's say, if I were to label things, that's something in my head I would label more maybe a flowy or feminine way to do versus a more goal-oriented, masculine way. Do you set goals?
I set intentions. So for me, I don't set goals anymore. I used to set so many goals for myself. And yeah, I would achieve them, because I have a very strong will. But at what cost do we achieve goals? And that's where also I learned I have intentions, but I don't want goals, because what do I know? Maybe that goal that I've set is not in my highest, maybe there's something better, something bigger. And so by setting intentions and I hold that intention, and I always say I live with a lot of tension, but the tension is tending myself towards what is for my highest good and for the highest good of all. Because my highest luxury now is ease. Is how can I live with ease and grace and allow for things to unfold? Because it's again like when you plant a plant, that plant, when you water it and you feed it and it's exposed to the right circumstances, it will grow. Like, you don't have to do anything. You just have to bask in the beauty of the growth. And the same thing really is for us. I really feel, and in my experience again, we all came here with a very specific mission. And we knew that when we were children. We have remembered it when we remember it. And then we just have to follow the path. And we know, and what does it matter if it happens in 2 years' time or in 5 years' time? Like, it's happening. And I want to enjoy the journey.
And how did you go about, for example, creating your website or doing your Instagram? Is it something that you do when you feel like it?
Well, the thing is, I feel like doing it all the time, because it's no longer, nothing that I do is separated anymore. Like, I really feel everything that I'm doing, that I'm living, from the way that I raise my children to the way that I do my business, it's me. There is nothing artificial or forced anymore. And so the way that I did my business, actually, my website initially, there was a lot of like, I don't know, and what do I do? And then actually something happened which was deeply disappointing in the moment. There was like a great rupture with a potential business and, something. And I knew in the moment that it happened, it just cracked me open so wide. And within 24 hours, I created my website. And my husband helped me, and then we were like, wow, that thing happened so that I could create the website, And so in many ways, it is also about knowing what is our patterns. Like, I need rupture. I'm in constant, so we all need to know our patterns. That's why when we say, like, know thyself, it's so important to know yourself, because the way that I create is completely different to how you're going to create and how the next person. But if I'm true to myself and my rhythm, creation happens because we are creation.
That's a very good point. And it's interesting because for me, I can explore more about surrender. But sometimes when I'm really asking the universe, okay, what's next? The universe tells me, well, you choose. We're co-creating here. So
sure,
it's your choice. Choose something and go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. But it's different, a goal, like a choice. To me, choice is an arising. Like, I treat choices more as an arising. It's like, what's the one thing that you do when you can't help but do it, right? It just happens. And so ultimately, I feel there is no choice. Like, we think there's choice. And we want to be in this limbo, oftentimes, of course, like I work with clients who, I don't know about my life. You always know. but we're confused, and we also love playing to be confused, right? Because we're told that our innermost knowing is not to be trusted. I mean, and we've been indoctrinated, to that in so many ways, whereas we do know, we always know. And when I look at my life, like, I knew that I was going to meet a man that already had children. I knew that I was going to have a boy and a girl. I knew, so there were so many things, like, I knew how I was going to meet him. I knew, the unfolding. But we like to kind of be like, oh, I don't know. But we do.
Yeah. It's like when you go to the movies, sometimes you don't want to know the end.
Yeah. It's like, I'm just going to pretend I don't know the end. And it's like, but we do. And at the same time, the experience, because it's different. It's like knowing, like, I can go on top of the Eiffel Tower and I can look at Paris and go like, wow, Paris is beautiful. But then when I walk through the streets of Paris and I have the experience, it's completely different. So I have to walk the streets in order to have the experience. The knowing is not enough. We're here for the actual experience, right? Like everything that and that's why also our desires need to be fulfilled, because it's through the fulfillment of the desire that we receive the lessons that we came here for. So it's not so much the desire fulfillment, it's what happens in the fulfillment.
And that's interesting. So for you, there's no real separation now between life and work, right?
Yeah,
because you're doing what
anymore.
You love, and you feel like a good business tip would be to find something you love so much that you don't feel like it's work and it flows.
Yeah, I would say it's imperative if we want to, and I truly believe we all are here for that one thing, and it has to come naturally and easy. If I look back, I've always coached all my friends, since a little girl. Like, I was always, you need to do that, like Alex's way of doing life. And it's what I do now. And it doesn't even, for me, it's not work. And it's just, I know that I came here to share this with other people, and then at the same time, through that, I learn and I grow, so it's but yeah, I feel you have to do what you love and what you're good at and what comes naturally, and kind of like to feel a certain calling. I mean, I do remember the moment when I felt kind of spirit say, like, what are you doing with these flippin' handbags? Stop that nonsense. You came here for something else. And it was this moment of like, oh my God, I'm so scared to claim this for myself. Now it feels supernatural, but the journey has been very choppy, because it's almost like this that I'm living now, it's a dream because it's so easy, right? I mean, the fashion thing, like, it was fun, but it wasn't easy. This is a dream because it's easy and it's natural. And there is something inside of us that always says, like, can we actually have a life that is so sweet? Can life be so sweet? Because we've been indoctrinated that life has to be hard. You have to work hard for it. But in my experience over the last couple of years, the hard part is to surrender to how sweet it can be. And that's hard. It took a lot of surrender and overcoming resistance.
And so when did you start with the programs?
4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going really well. It's doing, I feel like I'm there where I want to be, and I know that I'm not done, and, but I'm very much in the, okay, I want to do it my way. I don't have any pressure anymore. It's just everything is growing organically.
Okay. And you find that you can sustain yourself with it?
Yeah, very well. We live super well, I would say, way better than we did even, in the fashion days, because like I often, share with clients, is when you're living the old way, you need all the traps, right? Like, you need the fancy car, you need the da 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 da. Now I don't need any of that. So on one hand, it's like, well, great, I don't need to spend money on all of that. But otherwise, we live this really beautiful, luxurious life that we actually couldn't live before because we had to keep up, So that's the crazy thing. It's, do you want to keep up and look like you're having a luxurious life? Or do you want to have the experience of a truly luxurious life? Because they're two very different things. Yeah.
And yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Who are the people buying your programs mainly?
So I would say so far, most of my clients have been clients that people that have tried everything to heal their body or mentally, emotionally, typically their body from physical diseases. And sometimes for 5 years, sometimes for 20 years, to no avail. And they're kind of at the end of the rope. And then they find me and, take their health to a whole new level. And with that, their whole life changes.
How do they find you?
Mostly through Facebook, Instagram. I mean, I haven't really done ads, so it's really being kind of, word of mouth, Instagram, Facebook. We're now launching a whole ad campaign and, getting out there a little bit more. But so far, it's just been very organic. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting, I think, for people to listen and to just follow their passion with excitement and flow and trust. There's a lot of trust involved. And then actually, so you take action, you do, but this doing is really a natural flow from your excitement and passion.
Yeah, I mean, just to share like how I started by sharing my message by going, on Facebook Lives. That's really how I started. And there was no intention of building a business. It was just like, wow, I found this way to heal. Let's share it with the people. And before I knew it, there were 500 followers. And I was like, wow, 500 followers. I thought maybe 20, 30 people would be interested. And then now we've got about 7,000 followers that are part of our group. And so I guess a lot of customers come through that, really. But it was through sharing my message. Yeah.
Nice. And what do you see yourself in 5 years?
Where do I see myself?
And the business?
Yeah, the business. I see the business as an international platform that is teaching people how to take their health in their own hands. And so I do have a group of coaches that work under me that I've certified. And yeah, personally, I love the one-on-one work. And then I have a team around me that works with me. And so for me, it's about growing that and really getting the message out. And I'm in the process of writing a book as well about how to heal your body.
Yeah. And healing the body mainly through nutrition. Maybe we can dive a little bit because, for example, Joe Dispenza would talk a lot about meditation to heal the body. And I know I've had on that show Niraj Naik, who has a whole breathwork training, and he healed himself through breathwork. Your focus is more on nutrition.
I actually take all of the elements into consideration. So nutrition is, for me, it's the basis, because there's a lot of people that they've tried everything, and of course all these elements, they take you to a degree, but in my experience, we don't know how good we can feel in a body until we clean the body out of the junk. And for me also, it's not about looking a certain way, because I used to be a gym bunny and everything, and I looked really great, but I felt like complete crap. So that's also, I learned it doesn't matter what you look like. And I've got oftentimes clients who literally are models, look like models, and have a whole host of health issues. So for me, it's about eating in a way that sustains cellular regeneration. And because when on a cellular level we regenerate and we clean out the body, or the natural process happens, then we don't have to worry about our health. So even in the case now, with what's happening in the world, I'm not worried. My clients are not worried, but that's because we know we have a strong enough body to deal with anything. So it's not about never getting sick. Dis-ease is a natural part of the body. Just as leaves fall from the tree, our body is meant to shade, regenerate, all of that. But we're not taught that. We're not taught how to lean into our own death process without physically dying. So there is a death process that happens, and it's part of our inner maturation. For example, children's illnesses like measles and chickenpox and all of that, they're vaccinated against. But actually, they are important for their development, not just physical development of immunity, but spiritual development. Because when the children get sick and they experience their own healing powers, they go, wow, look at this body. I'm powerful. And that's how I've taught my children. When they were sick, I didn't give them anything. I would whisper in their ear. I would sing them songs of how powerful their body is. And within half a day, they'd be like, boom, up again, So they've experienced very, very little illness, but they have such deep trust in their body and their ability to heal.
Like an upgrade.
Say again?
When you're sick, you can consider it's like an upgrade.
Yeah, it's an upgrade. It's absolutely an upgrade. And in fact, when I've had a couple of cancer patients, when they come to me, I get excited because I know why their dis-ease is coming. It's there because it's an opportunity, and then it's choice. What do we do with this, right? Because something wants to die within us, which is our old personality. Like when I was sick, it's like I needed to die to who I thought I was. And I needed to allow my divine being to come to the forefront, who I didn't know who she was. I had a feeling, but I didn't know, and I had never experienced her. And so that's really what disease is about. It's about upgrading your life.
And it's very interesting because if we can go in more details, we've had your story on how you created a business from your calling and trusting. And at the same time, the very thing you share helps you being more clear also.
Totally.
So even if someone who listens to us is in a different field, they would benefit a lot from getting more clarity from some of the practices you talk about. So can you go a little bit more in details into what you recommend?
Yeah. So ultimately, it's about understanding that we are first and foremost vibration. And so this is, of course, Joe Dispenza teaches this. But when our cells are not fully vibrating at their highest potential because of bad nutrition, because of overload of toxicity, it's kind of like we can't even reach our highest potential because physically we are impaired. And that's where you get a lot of Joe Dispenza students, etc., who say, well, I'm meditating and meditating and meditating. Why am I not getting anywhere? Or I'm doing the plant medicines with the shamans. Why is it not sticking? Well, it's because our body is so degenerated on a cellular level that we can't hold the higher vibration. So it's kind of like we are a bad radio station and there's too much interference. And every now and again, you get to be in oneness and then you lose it, right? So many people have that experience. That was me for 20 years. I've been a seeker for 20 years. And I kept going like, why can't I hold this? Until the body and my consciousness became one, at least most of the time. Do I still have work to do? Of course I have work to do. But through the enormous cleaning out, my body has become a resonant chamber for higher frequencies, so it's able to hold it. And that's where now I feel like life is easy. Being centered, being connected is just like it's natural. I don't really need to do anything for it. And at the same time, so nutrition is just the first step. Through the activation of cellular healing, what happens is that our endocrine system, which is really all of our bodily functions, are connected to the endocrine system. And the endocrine system is connected to the chakra system, like completely correlates. And so as much as many people still think chakras are woo-woo, but the chakra system is our endocrine system. And without a functioning endocrine system, and many, of course, know about the pineal gland, Joe Dispenza talks about it, when that's calcified, you're not going to be connected. When your brain is filled with heavy metals, you can meditate until the cows come home. You're not going to feel connected all the time. Why? Because you're not physically able to hold that vibration. There is too much obstruction. When our adrenals, which is most people's cases, adrenals are deeply overstressed, highly overstressed and overstimulated. And so this overstimulation of the nervous system and the adrenals keeps us in a state where we can't connect with unity consciousness. So it's really a physical thing. And the other tool that I love to use, and I know you're also a fan of Kundalini Yoga, and the reason why I love Kundalini Yoga is because it involves breath, movement, pranayama, and meditation, which all four are crucial for the body to become a vessel through which divine consciousness can flow through. So in many ways, what I teach is that when we prime our body, instead of focusing on all the other doings, right? We're so busy with so many doings. And now in the spiritual world expression, we feel like we need to do one course after the other, one certification after the other, one more book, one more healer, da da da. But if we just focus on getting our body into a state where it can be the vessel through which divine consciousness can flow through, everything else happens naturally.
Can you give a few more details on what it would be exactly? So would it be, for example, fasting, and what kind of fasting?
Right.
Maybe non-fluoride water? Like,
Sure,
are there a
yeah.
few, maybe the most important ones,
Yes.
the top 3-4 things that we could do for that cellular regeneration?
For sure. So we typically start people off with a transition diet because, you know, if we just throw them into the deep end with fasting, they'll run. So a transitioning diet, which is kind of the maintenance diet which we promote, is an alkaline diet. It is mainly fruit, vegetables, so high water content, because water doesn't hydrate us. Fruit and vegetables, because that is the most structured, high quality water that you can possibly get when they're grown in good soil, you know. So here in Bali, we're very blessed. Fruit and vegetables, that's how we get hydration. And cellular degeneration happens through cellular dehydration. So disease is really an acidic system that is dehydrated, that then, you know, starts kind of like a car. It doesn't go well anymore and things go wrong. So we want to hydrate, and we do that through high fruit vegetable content. And then we only eat alkaline grains, like, for example, spelt, millet, quinoa. So we don't do any gluten, we don't do any oats because they're mucus forming. We don't do any animal products. And yet I have some clients that occasionally include about 5% of animal products because for them it's what feels optimal. So it's not that I'm completely opposed to that, but it is about getting your body to a state where it can inform what is best for it. Because as long as we've got candida running, as long as we've got heavy metals running, as long as we've got inflammation, we're not in a state to receive the information.
Okay. So that would be for the healthier food.
Yeah, so that's the start. And then once we are at a place where we're alkaline and we don't have any cravings anymore for all these bad foods, and our gut microbiome is stabilized, then we can start to enter fasting. And it's going to be also a natural process, a natural arising, where all of a sudden, and I always wait for that, unless I work with critically ill people, then we have to sometimes throw them in the deep end. But otherwise, I like to wait until my clients say, oh, you know, I don't want food anymore. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm ready for fasting. So it's a natural process. And that is the beauty of everything that I teach. It's a natural, it's a self-informing process because the inner seed maturation starts to happen. And so naturally we're like, I don't want to eat today. And again, my children do that. You know, my children, I let them give them a lot of freedom, of course. But every now and again, they'll come to me and say, oh, you know, today I don't want to eat. Great, don't eat, you know. So they're already in tune with the system. It's just we've lost that. And because of our gut microbiome, etc., so we're running our body in an unnatural way, basically.
I tended to think that evolution, the story that I've been telling myself, and maybe that's why for me fasting is a willpower practice,
right?
Which I understand is not the optimal way according to what you shared. And for me, the rationality behind is food used to be scarce.
Yeah.
So it's built in our biology to when we see food, eat it. And now we live in a world of abundance where that biological conditioning is not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
Do you feel that's accurate or?
To a degree, and that's where, I mean, I come also like from a long history of eating disorders, and I've actually healed all of that through fasting, but only because I gave myself permission whenever I wanted food. I had a beautiful teacher that is actually breatharian, and he said to me, whatever you still desire and whenever you desire it, have it. So you have it. But then once you start to have the experience of like, oh my God, when I have these foods, it takes me a week to recover, and then eventually the self-love goes, I don't want to have a real pizza with real cheese. It takes me a week to recover after having been on fruit and vegetables.
It's kind of tantric in a way, indulge, but with high consciousness and awareness.
Totally.
And that will draw you to not need willpower to do the right thing.
Totally. That's exactly.
Because I feel
it.
sometimes when I fast from willpower, I create a reaction that makes it not working actually. Because then all I think about is eating.
Of course.
Okay. So fasting, healthy food. Do you want to add one last?
Dry fasting. So times of no food, no water at all, and this can extend to like our dry fasting expert. She has dry fasted 7 days. After 7 days, I've only done up until 3.5 days. But definitely a practice of regular dry fasting, like once a week, a 24-hour dry fast is amazing. And so, this whole process, it's a journey. And depending on where you're at, when you ask me who's your clients, recently I've been getting a lot more people that really want to optimize their connection to source consciousness. And they realize, okay, I'm doing all these things, but my body, I'm still drinking coffee, I'm still having cacao, I'm still, eating eggs because they're protein and, all these things. And so once they realize, there's another level, because there's always a next level, right? So this is the next level to kind of become in tune with your higher self.
I'm probably guilty with the cacao.
I saw the smile. I know. It's kind of like, it's my, cacao is beautiful and there's a time and space, but we're overdoing it. It's like so many things. And yet it's beautiful because we're like children on a playground and we go like, wow, cacao's amazing. Let's have it. But it is about becoming conscious. What does it really do to your body? What does it do to your consciousness? And all these substances are doorways. Let them work. Let them work energetically on your system. Once your heart is open, because that's what cacao does, just keep on opening the heart. We don't need cacao. We know how to open our heart. Right? We just can do it.
Yeah, it's a tool.
Yeah.
Nice. Damn. Also, so I think we have a lot of tips for the listeners to be more healthy, detox, and of course there would be way more in your program. We're going to talk about it. Maybe one advice more business related. So would it be really take time for you, trust? That would be
So one thing that I would like to throw in there, which is both, it's business and health related, the power of chanting mantras.
Okay, that's an interesting.
Super powerful. And, this is coming from someone, my husband dragged me into Kundalini Yoga. And initially when he came to me with Kundalini Yoga, I was like, what is this? This is weird. I was a gym bunny. And so for me, unless you sweated a ton, now I sweat with Kundalini Yoga, but initially I didn't because my endocrine system was not optimized. And so Kundalini Yoga was like this weird thing. People wore turbans. I was like, no, this is way too weird. And they chant, and I couldn't stand the chants. In fact, they hurt my body. They were hurting my body. And eventually I realized, oh, wait, they're hurting my body because I'm in so much resistance, because my endocrine system, my chakras, were shut. My heart was closed. I wasn't connected. And so there was all this resistance. But then as I understood and I started practicing and I started to have a physical experience of what happens when these chants, which, as we know, when we pronounce them in the right way, so our body becomes a sound chamber and there's all this activation. That's all you need. I feel now whatever happens, and of course I still sometimes come out of sorts. And my husband goes like, what are you doing? Why don't you chant? Oh, yeah, sure. Let's chant 20 minutes. We're like, what was my problem?
If you wake on cars in the morning. And
totally. And it's completely right. We're there. That's all we need. And to then enter that stream of consciousness. And I do the same thing when I have to make a business decision, or I chant and I get clarity. So whenever I think I don't know, I remember that I do know, and I enter the stream of consciousness that allows me to be connected to the knowing. And so in some ways, I feel there's no more issues, there's no more questions, there's only constant wonderment and not knowing. So in some ways, I do feel like my superpower has become just being completely empty and not knowing, and just allowing whatever, but being open to everything. So in terms of, a concrete business tip, it's dig into chanting. And that's what every single client of mine gets chanting as a sort of remedy as well at some point. And get a really good business coach. So I've been blessed. We had this incredible business coach because it's very different doing business this way versus the old way. The old way, I come from
So
a family.
you had a business coach that understood your way to do.
Yes. Yes. And as much as I come from a family of entrepreneurs, but again, that all, like, I didn't want that. That's not what I wanted. I didn't want to
get shit done.
Yeah, like work more.
Hustle.
No, like I've done that. It was like, okay, there must be a new way. And what I've learned, the gem that I've learned from my business coach, and her name is Lindsay Wilson. She's amazing. And the gem that she really gave me is be willing to be paid for what is most precious within you. Because we all have something that is so utterly precious, and it's there. You don't even need to do anything for it. It's just there. But if you don't own it, and most often we don't own it, we judge it. We judge what is most precious within us because of conditioning. But that's the thing. It had to be shut down through conditioning so that we can go and retrieve it and allow it to flourish again. And then it becomes this precious gem. And when we realize what is most precious within us, and we just go with that, we bring that, because it's our gift. It's our divine gift. And then we need to be willing to receive for it. And when we combine that, whatever you're doing is going to become inevitably amazing. So I like to work in ways that are inevitable, where inevitable success happens, which I think, is very tantric.
Yeah, goosebumps. and that's the whole point of what I'm doing too. If people have incredible gifts, I'd love them to monetize that well and put their life mission 100% on it, rather than having shame around it.
Yeah.
What's so what is something you'd love to share with our listener as some of your offerings?
Well, at the moment, we're launching in January. We're launching a year-long program. Most of my programs really are a year-long because it takes at least a year to completely transform your body. And mainly, again, it's not your body; it's your consciousness, and it's you becoming the person that you came here to be on a cellular level. And so my year-long program, it's kind of pre-selling now. It's launching in January, simply because I know most people, now it's holiday spirit, so there's all the excuses. So we were like, okay, great, sure, enjoy your holidays, start in January. And it's group coaching as well as then one-on-one. So there's two levels, one with my coaches and one with me. And super powerful. And at the same time, it's all about, receive everything on a silver platter. You take yourself and you initiate yourself.
Okay. And how can people follow you?
On Instagram, I'm under Living Mucus Free or Alex Cousins. Both you can find me. Instagram, Facebook.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, I think there's a lot in here for people to upgrade and also have a different vision also on how you can build a successful business doing something you love and in flow.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for the inspiration, and thank you to everyone who listened.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you for taking some of your precious time to listen to this podcast. If you stayed until the end, I assume it was insightful. If you like this podcast, please share with friends. Remember that if you tag us in your Instagram story at the Light Leaders Podcast, we will repost. Tell us what you've learned. You can also leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Now, if you think I can help you grow your soul mission business, you can register for a free 15-minute coaching call with me. Go to www.thelightleaders.org/free call. Thank you again, and let's co-create the conscious new earth together.